Let's talk about NXT from June the 4th, 2024, but we're going to have a supersized NXT review here because not only are we going to talk about NXT the show, we're going to do news and notes, and we're going to do Battleground predictions. Now, what may end up making this a longer than probably needed review is how controversial the news and notes are. Basically, Sexy Red was on NXT the previous week, which led to some comments by Booker T, which led to a retort by Madusa, the WWE Hall of Famer and old hag sitting on the porch. So we got to talk about that. Also, Gable Steveson got some heat. He has been released. Of course, he went and signed with the Buffalo Bills, but Cameron Grimes, who was in NXT, criticized him, and we want to talk about that too. Let's start with the silliest one. So, Gable Steveson has very quietly left WWE and moved on to other ventures. So now he's playing in the NFL. I think they said he will be playing fullback for the Buffalo Bills, or at least he got an opportunity to sign with the team. And there was a question that was by, random fan that was basically like, what position is he going to play? Like, he never played football before. Well, at least doesn't play football at this level. What position is he going to play? And so Cameron Grimes gave Trevor Lee, because we're supposed to call people by their released names now. He decided to post a snarky comeback saying, and I quote, "Whichever one requires the least amount of work and has other people make him look good, I'm assuming. Wait, wrong sport." So he's basically saying that, when it comes to pro wrestling, that he was lazy and he relied on other people to make him look good. I would assume, however, that it was mostly due to his inexperience that he relied on other people to make him look good, because he was less than 5 years into his wrestling career. I mean, he had only been wrestling for 2 or 3 years, and he wasn't very good. He didn't get time to develop much before they cut him, and I'm probably sure that they cut him due to the size of his contract. So there's 2 ways of thinking about this. There's a lot of people who are on the Trevor Lee side because, he's a recently released wrestler, and everybody feels like he's been done wrong because he went on the internet and cried about being released. So it's not like, whatever. And for the record, they did work a couple of dark matches, the 2 of them, and there's some footage floating around of it not looking very good. As the veteran in those matches, Trevor Lee, it's your job to make sure that the guy looks good. So that's your job. Well, it's not your job now because you don't have a job now. But so it's like, it was probably best for you to keep that to yourself. Now, this is an easy one because a lot of a certain side of Twitter think that, Gable Steveson is a rapist, so they don't care what he says about him. But to me, it's just incredibly unprofessional when you consider the wide gap in experience between the 2 guys. For you to take a cheap shot at a guy who, was just trying this stuff out for the first time. He's having his first matches. I don't think he even had 10 matches the entire time he was there. So to criticize him and his work when he barely got anything done seems to me to come on the bitter side. Maybe because he was paid so much money. Maybe he did have an ego with the gold medal and everything. And no doubt you probably dealt with some BS about that. But ultimately, Gable Steveson had less than 10 matches, I think, total in his entire career. Maybe a little bit over 10, maybe 12 or something like that. He had no earthly idea. He never really got to do anything. Okay? So, criticizing him in this way, to me, seems very petty, and it seems ridiculous. But when you're trying to reason with people who are unreasonable. There really is no benefit to that. So I just wanted to put that out there as something we could discuss, because this was NXT related. Gable Steveson was on NXT, and well, yeah, he was on NXT when he was released. I wonder how much he was getting paid, because I guarantee you that's the reason why he got cut, because his brother is still there. And I just can't believe that they kept his brother and didn't keep him. That's weird. We'll talk about that goof in a minute, though. All right, so let's talk about Sexy Red. So, Sexy Red was on NXT last week. Her thing is twerking. So, Booker T on his podcast says, I could see a dance-off coming between Sexy Red and Lola Vice. I'm serious, man. Do it. Do it now. Nah, man. Ain't no infringement when it comes to twerking. You just got to let it go. Lola Vice, she's a damn good entertainer. She's a damn good performer. So, Madusa, who is, of course, the old hag, sits on the porch, absolutely hating everything that she sees. She tweets out, if this to be true, there is something cringing about this statement from a married man. He said he wants to see girls dance off. He didn't. Wait a minute. So what? For starters. So what? Does your husband not have a heartbeat anymore? Is he blind? This is crazy. He didn't say he wanted to stick his penis in nobody. He said he wanted to see a dance off. A twerk off, essentially. Which, most people would have had fun with. And he was laughing during this whole thing. So, a fan, talked about, how Booker T essentially is, doing a Jerry Lawler gimmick. And it was on his podcast. It wasn't on the show. So Madusa doubles down, says he's no Jerry Lawler. And if Lawler's character was only to demean women, it took us 30 years to overcome that. And if you think that was okay, why aren't the commentators saying that stuff nowadays? Because it wasn't okay. Fast forward, then you have comments of what Booker just said. If you're a real commentator, you could think of other things instead of sexualizing women, unless he's in a movie reading from a script. I don't buy, B-Y, by the way, not B-U-Y, the old man thinking it's, quote, it's only wrestling. You're the problem. You're the problem, sexualizing women. You mean Lola Vice, who literally twerks after every match, who was getting heat for doing all this twerking when she was in MMA, and everybody says, oh, she's just an IG model, all she does is shake her booty. And it was the same thing that Zoe Stark went rambling about on social media a couple of days ago, weeks ago. And every time Lola Vice twerks or something like that, people are adding Zoe Stark because she's another miserable old rooster. It wouldn't be fair to call her a hen. Madusa's no different, Lola Vice is long sexualized. She does it to herself. She has fun. Sexy Red, why are you even trying it? This girl made a song called Hands on Your Knees. All Booker T is saying is these two people who do this stuff all the time should be in competition doing this stuff. It would be entertaining. And it probably would be to a degree. Madusa taking this thing to the extreme, as usual. She's an embarrassment. And when you consider how much fun other people was having with the gimmick, it seems like she is a no fun hag, this part of this comment that really kind of throws me for a loop. She says, if you think that was okay, basically Jerry Lawler's character, why aren't commentators saying stuff like that nowadays? And she says, because it wasn't okay. It's like, no, because there's old hags like you who constantly complain about every single thing. You complain about literally everything. They were just in Saudi Arabia, a week or two ago, and people were complaining that, oh, look at how all the women have to cover up because they're in Saudi Arabia. That's not fair. 2 weeks later, Booker T makes a comment about Lola Vice shaking her butt. Oh, why are you sexualizing the ladies? It's like, come on, man. What the hell? What do you want? What do you want from us? What do you want out of my life? Huh? What do you want out of my life? You just want to complain. You don't have any standards. You don't have any principles. None of this stuff really matters to you. You just want to be heard. You just want to be the center of attention. You just want to be the person who called out somebody. Thankfully, Booker T doesn't give a shit, likely. He probably won't even respond to that. And I would really hope he wouldn't. But what can you say? I truly am sick of seeing these women and their opinions. I'm becoming more and more misogynistic by the day. I'm tired of women and their opinions. I'm tired of people telling you what you should and shouldn't like. I'm tired of people criticizing you for everything that you say. I have grown way, way sick of people like Madusa. I'm tired of it. You know, who cares what these old bitches think? Who really gives a shit, really? You know? And the only reason she has any sort of stature is probably because she has some kind of Legends contract or something like that where she does stuff for WWE. I think she's been working on that Who Killed WCW thing with The Rock and all of them. And, you know, throwing that belt in the garbage is probably the most meaningful thing she's ever done in her entire career. And I like Madusa. But for the drama that she puts up today, constantly complaining and bitching and whining about how, you know, it'd have been one thing if Sexy Red or Lola Vice themselves had said something. I still would probably be like, get over it. But for somebody who's not even involved to be upset, it's kind of goofy to me. Go sit down, Grandma. You know, go drive your monster truck or whatever. Go literally do whatever butch thing that you do while you pretend to be a heterosexual woman, which I'm not going to, you know. But basically, she's Zoe Stark in 30 years. And that I don't know whether that's bad for Zoe or bad for Madusa, but it ain't looking too good. Let's get into this show because the show was actually still kind of fun. It was the go home show for NXT Battleground. So from June 4th, 2024, we start the show with Ava meeting Ethan Page in the parking lot. We realize at this point that Mr. Stone is Ava's assistant. He's just like the guy who follows her around all the time. Crazy thing is he has way more experience in wrestling than she does. Why isn't he the general manager? In any event, Ava doesn't want to sign the contract because Ethan Page is asking for too much. There's a ton of perks in there that she don't want to give him, things that she doesn't feel like he's earned, while he feels like he has earned them, and he wants her to sign it. And that's just a conversation that goes back and forth throughout the night, with Ava not wanting to sign it, and Ethan Page saying, "Oh, you will sign it." And then you also have Trick Williams, who wants Ava to sign the contract. Trick Williams runs into Lash Legend in the parking lot. The two of them talk. Trick Williams talks about his plan of beating all the ego out of all ego. Then Lash sort of soft breaks up with him by saying she needs to focus on the championship, the North American title. So she needs to do her own thing. So the thing between the two of them is over. Trick Williams, much to his, big pop to him, I should say, because he was unfazed by that and completely didn't sell it. He just kind of like, I understand. And went on about his day. He didn't cry over any spilt milk or chocolate milk. He didn't give a damn. He just moved on with his life. Hey, I appreciate that. That was very good. This builds up to the end of the show where Ethan Page is in the ring because this is one of his demands. He wanted to sign his contract in the ring. Ava wanted to sign it in her office, but she got to do what Ethan Page wants her to do, so he goes to the ring. And they start having a conversation. Ava at first is trying to get him to sign it. And then she's also talking about how she's not going to sign it. So I'm not sure if it's two contracts or if it's one. I don't know what's going on. But Ethan Page has a bit of a monologue for a second. He actually got an opportunity to go out there and get himself over. Talking about how Ava has to get used to him calling the shots because he's got so many perks in his contract. And he's tired of waiting for opportunities. And that, Ava should be happy that he's going to sign that contract. Because NXT got absolutely ripped off in the draft. They lost 8 top stars. And he says that all of these are big spots that he can fill. And he says that he could have sat at home for 2 years and collected a paycheck. But he heard that in NXT that talent grants opportunity. And he says that when it comes to that contract, he earned it and he deserves it. And I thought this was a very good promo. You know, he got into it with the fans. He knew when the fans were trying to whoop that trick, how to jump in there and get that heat, you know, by telling them to shut up and all that kind of stuff. I thought that was really good. Trick Williams came out. Then Ethan Page got rid of the table, so nobody would go through the table. He said that Ethan Page said he was only here to handle business. Trick Williams wants to whoop his ass, wants Ava to sign that contract, to give him whatever he wants. Then he said he kind of flubbed his lines here a little bit. You know, he forgot what he was going to say twice. But when you're over, you can get over with those things, right? You're like, people just kind of like go along with you. And he's very smooth. Like, the second time he flubbed his lines, the crowd was chanting whoop that trick, so he just stopped and let them chant, and then he jumped back in it. But he was talking about how he'd been in NXT this whole time. Ava's been there, the crowd's been there, everybody's been there, and Ethan Page wants to jump the line. And he wants to show everybody around the world you can't just come into NXT, get a title match, and win the belt. He's going to make an example out of Ethan Page. Ethan Page actually put Trick over by saying that he saw Trick in Carmelo Hayes' shadow. And Trick Williams was able to do something he was never able to do, which is get out of the shadow of somebody else. He was never given that opportunity. And said that more than just that championship, what Trick Williams has is the spotlight, which is something that Ethan Page always wanted. He says, not only do you have a target on your back, you also have that spotlight. Trick Williams wanted him to sign the contract. Ethan Page signs the contract. But Ava still refused to sign the contract because she says she did not want to give him all of these perks without telling us what all of these perks mean. Like, it was just 2 things that he wanted, which is one, his first match to be an NXT title match at Battleground. And that was it. Those were 2 things. His first match to be a championship match. The second thing is it had to be at Battleground. That was it. We didn't go into any crazy details like, you know, it had to be a Trick Williams wrestle with one arm tied behind his back rule or anything like that. It seemed pretty straight up. He just wants a title match to start, which I've heard of that before. In any event, Trick Williams pressured Ava to sign it, and she signed it, and therefore the match is official. Trick Williams and Ethan Page will fight at Battleground. Ethan Page is a good promo. I can give him that much. I will not doubt his promo abilities. He's a short guy, but he's shorter than I thought he was. But he can cut a promo, and that will take you a long way with me. So, people in the comment section have told me to get over the Karate Man stuff and all the crazy stuff he was doing at TNA, and I said I was going to give him a clean slate, and I will. So, I was impressed when he had his one match with Kenny Omega. I thought that was pretty good. And I've been impressed with his promo here. And I've been impressed with other promos he's done. You know, he actually has inflection. He actually has passion. And his character has a direction. I'm going to save some of my thoughts for the prediction part. But I like that he came in and basically said, I've been doing this for a long time. This is what I'm missing. You know? And he craves the attention that he has seen other people get. So that is good for character motivations. Unfortunately, it seems like he's going to be in a position to get that almost immediately, which he shouldn't. Let's go back into the regular show. Jordynne Grace defeated Stevie Turner. Stevie Turner, she didn't look very good. It looked like Jordynne Grace had to basically walk her through this match. I thought Stevie Turner had experience, but I don't know. She didn't seem to be too experienced. Roxanne Perez was on commentary and was talking about her conspiracy theory that Ava also wants to beat her for the title too. So everybody wants her belt. After the match, Jordynne Grace Also, Jordan Grace also was wearing an NXT TNA on the back of her ring jacket, which I thought was very nice. They got people very excited about what the potential for this could be. And I think people are kind of overlooking that this might just be a one-time deal, and it's not good. There's wrestling news sites like, is Joe Hendry going to be at Clash at the Castle? Is Joe Hendry going to be on NXT? Like, what? Why would you think that? Why would you think that Joe Hendry, of all people, is going to show up at Clash at the Castle? Because it's in Scotland? I don't know, man. It would be fun for that audience, I guess. But there has been zero breadcrumbs that they're going to continue working with TNA beyond Jordan Grace doing, this one match, which she may or may not win. So once Jordan Grace was in the ring, Roxanne Perez got into the ring. They had a little stare down, and Jordan Grace shoved her. Roxanne Perez got in her face. Then she begged off, going backstage. Okay. Then they did what they do to the new girl. They have a bunch of different characters floating around her, where she got to meet some various backstage girls from NXT. She got to rekindle her friendship with Mia Yim, because Chen was in TNA, and they were in TNA together for a little while too. So that was fun. She got to meet Sol Ruka, where Sol Ruka was talking about how jacked she is, and she needs to know how much she can bench press. And Jordan Grace was like, oh, you got to show me how to do this soul snatcher, blah, 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 blah. And, being girls. Then Ariana Grace showed up and said that they have the same last name, but they're not related. To which Jordan Grace like, yeah, that's correct. No Santino joke, because Santino was on NXT, so we didn't even get. She could at least said you look familiar. Like, do I know your dad or something? That could have been fun. In any event, Tatum Paxley also met Jordan Grace, and she was talking about the Knockouts title and how much it means to her. And Ariana was like, yeah, it may mean a lot to you, but not as much as my crown. And she was like, nope, it means just as much. To which Tatum Paxley was like, it means a lot to me too. I was like, ooh. But it seemed like they might actually use Jordan Grace for more than just these 1-2 matches. If they're already teasing something between her and Tatum Paxley, who is also a muscle girl. I didn't realize it until I saw a video of Tatum Paxley doing an interview out of character, where she talked about how much she was into powerlifting. And she had big, meaty hands, too, like for a girl, anyway. It wasn't like she was like my grandpa's hands or anything like that. But she had like meaty fist for like a girl, like no dainty hands at all. Like she was really into like powerlifting and stuff. So it might actually be an interesting thing that the two of them have in common that, might be able to work out in terms of character. Like she's not as shredded and stacked as Jordan Grace, clearly. But Tatum Paxley is a pretty strong girl. I've seen the videos of her deadlift and stuff, and, she's not a legend or anything like that, but she looks pretty good. It seems like they really are ingratiating Jordan Grace into this show. I don't know how long this is going to last, so just enjoy it. Enjoy it as much as possible. I don't know how long she's going to be sticking around. All right. Shawn Spears is backstage. Oh, my God. He's auditioning for being the new cult leader. Wants to teach all these people their upside and their potential. He gets confronted by Josh Briggs, who didn't like what he said about him last week. So they agreed to have a match later. Then we find out that Shawn Spears attacked Josh Briggs right before the match. And Javon Evans, who was in the backstage segment, dozing off as Shawn Spears was talking. And he was like, try that with me. Somebody says that he sounds like a Popeyes cashier. And a huge pop. And now I can't unhear it. I cannot unhear the the stoned guy putting together the McChicken at McDonald's. I can't unhear it. Every time I hear his voice now, I hear it. And that's probably because he's so young. I think that has a lot to do with him being like 19 and, slightly awkward when it comes to speaking and stuff like this. But Javon Evans beat him up. They did the springboard cutter, which was beautiful, except for the fact that Shawn Spears ended up on his feet again. I'm thinking, like, wait a minute. Why not just roll outside the ring? He got to get back up on his feet so he can be clotheslined over the top rope. I'm like, he's taking advantage of this fucking kid, man. Somebody should have just said, look, you take that cutter and roll out of the ring. Don't get up. You pop back up on your feet after that. Come on. You're taking advantage of him. Next, the NXT North American Championship Summit. That North American title looks so damn small. It looks like it fits on an action figure. That does not look like the real belt. They need to get a belt. That belt is tiny. The summit was hosted by Booker T. And basically all the girls got an opportunity to get a couple of words in before the brawl. I'm not even going to waste anybody's time with it. Mr. Stone came out there and announced a 6-woman tag for the main event, to which the teams were Lash Legend, Kalani Jordan, and Fallon Henley versus Jada Parker, Sol Ruka, and Michin. Sol Ruka hits the Soul Snatcher on Lash Legend to win the match. It was a solid enough match with the opponents fighting each other. Jada Parker and Michin, who were partners, ended up fighting each other in this match. And Fallon Henley and Kalani Jordan, who are also partners, ended up fighting. And that actually made sense because Fallon Henley turned heel on Kalani Jordan. And they have history, so it makes sense for them to turn. At one point, I believe it was Sol Ruka who spanked Jada Parker on the butt? Oh, no, it was the other way around, where Jada Parker got spanked. Somebody spanked somebody, and they fell in the ring. I think Jada Parker got spanked and fell in the ring. And that led to the fight. No, it was Michin who spanked Jada Parker, and she fell in the ring. Somebody got spanked. That's all I could tell you, In any event, the match meant nothing because all these people are opponents at the big show. It was just putting everybody in the ring at once. Lash Legend, the one take the pin, that was interesting because Kalani Jordan is literally right there, and she usually was the one who take pins. So that tells me that they're doing something with Lash Legend. Jasmine Nix and JC Jane were actually at ringside. JC Jane's wearing a face guard, much like Tatum Paxley used to wear. So they're ingratiating JC Jane back into the story already. I'm interested. It seems like she might be the first contender once we figure out who that North American champion is going to be. I'm okay with that. Back to the beginning of the show. Charlie Dempsey is in the mirror pretending to be a gangster. First he's doing Taxi Driver, You Talking to Me, in the mirror, which has nothing to do with any gangster movies. For the record, Taxi Driver is not a gangster movie. It is a psychological thriller where a guy is devolving into madness. It is not a gangster movie. While he's in the movie like, you talking to me? You talking to me? It was funny because then he starts talking about Miles Bourne, like, you listening to me? And he's like, it's just like that. Because Miles Bourne is deaf. And then Damon Kemp is there, and they all just kind of making fun of Charlie Dempsey as he tries to be hard in this mirror. And he starts referring to the No Quarter Cash crew as the family. And he wants Damon Kemp to say capiche, but Damon Kemp won't say it. So Miles Bourne is pressuring him to just say capiche. He's just like, oh, capiche. So Dempsey took this whole thing that they need to be more like D'Angelo's family. He's taking it literally, where he's trying to turn himself into Tony D'Angelo and turn them into the family. It's like his brain is broken, which is incredibly humorous, and that's something that I thought would occur with the son of William Regal, that they would try to turn him into a comedy character. But I guess William told him, like, you got to be able to do more than just stretch people, son. You got to be able to take people on that, that next level, make them smile, make them laugh. Hopefully he starts dressing better too. Stop looking like Gene Wilder every time you see him. In any event, match 3, Damon Kemp is defeated by Tony D'Angelo, who won rounds 1 and 4. I don't really care for his Heritage Cup thing, but I'm glad Tony D'Angelo was winning, so can't complain about that. Charlie Dempsey continues to be funny. I may like this whole No Quarter Cash thing. So they're starting to get over on me with the comedy. You know, I sometimes I say comedy is too much, but him in that mirror, I thought that was fun. And it was completely out of control. And the more he seems to lose his mind, the more fun it could possibly be. Next, Thea Hale is ready for her match, but Duke Hudson and Riley Osborne does not want to be out there because, well, Ridge Holland is coming. They don't want anything to do with Ridge Holland, so they decided not to go. Riley Osborne went from trying to be Thea Hale's boyfriend to not even want to be her friend. That's crazy. Thea Hale versus Jasmine Nix. That was the second match on the show. Jasmine Nix is infinitely better than I thought she would be, given her experience level. But of course, there's a huge experience gap between these two. As Thea Hale, despite the fact that she's probably younger, she's worked certainly more matches than Jasmine Nix. The entire story has been about Thea Hale wanting to lock in that Kimura and break Jasmine Nix's arm again. So as she finally gets the Kimura on, Jasmine Nix grabs the referee in the corner. And since, she can't tap out, Thea Hale lets it go. And she walks right into a Pele kick, which is Jasmine Nix's finisher because she's a soccer player. And she actually wins the match relatively clean. Now, despite the fact that Riley Osborne and Duke Hudson both came ringside, they didn't interfere at all in the match. They didn't cost Thea Hale the match. They just showed up, and she managed to lose. So, poor Thea Hale. You would think she would be further along in her career at this point, but she's such a really good babyface in peril that it really does not matter how many matches she loses. But she should win more. She should certainly win more. All right. They showed footage of the Good Brothers beating up Axiom and Nathan Fraser at a merch stand, which led to a really brutal kick by that big dumb idiot Festus who kicked Axiom in the face. Two bad gimmicks are brawling. So they're going to get their tag team title match, but they've been boosted from the arena. So they get boofed out of there. Nowhere to be seen for the rest of the night. Good. Axiom and Nathan Fraser were very mad, and they cut mean promos. I don't know about, again, Axiom sucks with his mask on. Bro, I can barely hear you. You're wearing a mask. You're muffled. Do something else, brother. All right. They did a vignette for Lola Vice and Shayna Baszler in their NXT Underground fight. I really liked it. Lola Vice talked about being a superstar in every form, that she brought Shayna Baszler back to NXT, and that she looked up to Shayna Baszler, but Shayna Baszler ended up just being jealous of her. Shayna Baszler talked about how people forgot her dominance and that she was one of the most dominant champions in NXT history. She was the most feared woman in NXT history and the first woman to make this jump from MMA to pro wrestling. She made what Lola Vice is doing possible. And I thought that was very good. I would like for them both to be on TV or to go into some more detail. But as promos and vignettes go, this was pretty good. I liked it. Izzy Dame wrestled Natalya. Now, they did give us a good reason why Natalya is here, because Carmen Petrovich got injured at a house show and couldn't perform, so Natalya filled in the spot. But it is Natalya. So you gave me Shawn Spears and Natalya on this show. I'm about ready to choke Shawn Michaels. Choke him. In any event. Oh my God. In any event. Izzy Dame is tall. She's blonde. She's got potential. She seems to have a little bit of an attitude. So she might have some personality in there somewhere. It might work out just fine. Natalya is Natalya. So it is what it is. Moving on. Brooks Jensen. They're doing some kind of he's frustrated with NXT style gimmick that he's got going on here. He also made a really ridiculous comment about Booker T's statement, and I realized I sussed this out pretty quickly. He's doing a gimmick where he has been fired from NXT, but they haven't said that. So to go back to what we were talking about before, of course, Booker T makes a comment about Sexy Red and Lola Vice. And Brooks Jensen says, it hurts when you once bust your ass off in the Performance Center for recognition and to be respected by your bosses and peers only to be exiled and see this crap. And then later on, he says, to all of you missing the point of this tweet, if you looked past those ass jiggles, the most you actually see, they are talented wrestlers. But again, it's what the company provides to keep you crotch petters entertained. So he is basically antagonizing Shawn Michaels in NXT. He even retweeted a sign that says Brett would book better. And they did a thing with him where he was arguing with Vic Joseph and Booker T during the commercial. So basically, he's doing an embittered NXT star. He even took NXT out of his bio on Twitter and replaced it with, booking information. So he's pretending to be released without saying that he was released, because of course that would be in bad taste if he was doing a gimmick where he'd been fired. So they're doing a thing where he's been exiled. So I guess they're trying to do the Jack Perry thing. It would be nice if WWE stole something from AEW. Maybe he's going to be the scapegoat. But scapegoat for what? Who knows? So this moved itself from news and notes because I realized it was a gimmick. And I realized it pretty quick. But that was before he even did the whole thing on television. I hadn't heard that he was released, so I was like, he's probably not. But then again, they don't really announce releases anymore. Guys kind of tell on themselves nowadays. But I sussed out pretty quickly that it was a gimmick. So, but I want to see where it goes. Let's see where it goes. He actually has some people believing that he has been released. So he's working people really well. And then he popped up on TV this week. So, I think it was on the internet. Social media, like Twitter and stuff. But it was retweeted by some WWE accounts and stuff like this. So we don't know what's going on with him. But it's clearly a gimmick because it was mentioned on the show. Booker T and Vic Joseph said the kid. So they're trying not to talk about him, but they're talking about him. And maybe he'll be back. All right, so Tyreek and Tyson, or TNT, they came to the arena. They were supposed to wrestle the Good Brothers, but the Good Brothers got boofed from the arena, so they got to have makeup opponents, and nope, they got jumped by Gallus and beat up. So then Joe and Mark and Wolfgang decided they were going to have a promo segment, impromptu, where they talked about their issues with WWE, and their primary issue is that they're not respected. They said that WWE don't respect them because they're not shaking their asses, which led to Joe Coffey twerking. And I laughed first before I wanted to kick my TV. He said that they don't have a million followers. They're not trying to be influencers. They're here to be wrestlers. He said these other wrestlers are nothing but wee boys, and they're going to do anything to be the North American champion. Obafemi came out, basically said that nothing's going to change. He's amazing. Then Wesley came out there ready to win the title. They all brawled, and Gallus kicked their asses because there's three of them, and the other two guys are just solo acts. So they're trying to put over strong Joe Coffey. Okay. I don't hate the direction they have for Gallus. It's just generic. Very generic that, we're pro wrestlers. You guys are trying to be Instagram followers. I'm like, whatever. Whatever works, bro. Whatever works, fam. Didn't Joe Coffey beat up Trick Williams too? I guess that's over because they lost that tag team match. Okay. So they've been doing the Wendy Chu vignettes for a while when she's been waking up. So they did the thing where she goes into the mirror and she's wearing darker makeup than she usually, and then the mirror breaks. So are they doing Wendy Chu, the sleepy gimmick? Or are they going to do the Tian Sha gimmick? Or are they trying to mix the two? Because I don't want a mixture of the two. I mean, pick one and go with it. That Tian Sha thing didn't last very long. It also didn't seem to get over, despite the fact that they put some really good time and effort into that gimmick, and I loved it. With Boa and Xia Li and Wendy Chu and this triad kind of gimmick. I love that. I thought that was phenomenal. They were really putting together some really good stuff on that television, and it just flopped. It flopped right out of the gate, too. As soon as everybody saw that Tian Sha was an old lady, or it was basically just Wendy Chu, and she was very short, everybody was kind of like, we don't care. which is why sometimes you don't need to expose the big bad. You can just have the big bad exist. So it flopped. So I don't know what's going to happen now, but they seemingly teasing something darker with Wendy Chu these days. Lexis King backstage. He promises to finish Dante Chen. He gets attacked by Dante Chen. And after they get broken up, their brawl gets broken up by Norman Smiley of all people. Like, wow, I can't believe I recognized him. They're going to have a Singapore cane match next week. Huge pop. They got a pop out of me. Singapore canes. Because Dante Chen is Singaporean. So he's got the advantage here. LGBT Tatanka, he's out there talking about fighting for representation. He's dead in the water. I don't ever want to hear from that guy ever again. He's wearing a choker. He's got one of those rings in his nose. Nothing has ever good come out of somebody who's got one of those things in their nose. It's just nothing good comes from it. You know, what more can you say? He's got a septum ring. That's just like a woman with a thigh tattoo. You know, if she's got a septum ring or a thigh tattoo, man, you could just go ahead and cut bait. It's over. You know, you could just forget it at that point. All right, let's get into NXT Battleground. 6 matches on the show. But first, let us talk about some of the ancillary things. For instance, the show was June the 9th, which is Sunday, at 4:30 p.m. That's West Coast time, so that means 7:30 East Coast time. They sold 613 tickets of 668. So 668 tickets were available. They sold 613 of those. 55 tickets were still remaining according to WrestleTix 6 days before the show. I saw a lot of people, AEW fans mostly, laughing, saying that didn't they just fill a building not too long ago with 13,000 people? Now they can't even do 700. They can't even do 1,000. It's like the building is not set up for that. Also, if I remember correctly, the tickets are very expensive. The tickets are like $150 and up. It's an intimate building, you know. The UFC Apex in Las Vegas is basically the performance center for UFC. That's pretty much what it is. Apparently, it's not going to cost them anything to run this venue. So they're doing it basically just to flex the cross promotion with UFC and to show off the UFC's venue. Look, I want to know how it's going to look first, you know, before I really kind of go at them for how many tickets they sold, because it's a small venue. It's a training facility. I don't know how many people it could possibly hold, you know, otherwise. Like if it was like a regular octagon, how many people could it hold? I wouldn't know, you know. But it doesn't cost them a damn thing to run the building because they essentially own it. WWE and UFC is the same company. So it could be interesting. It could be look just like the Performance Center. Who knows? But 613 tickets sold out of 668. That's a pretty good margin. You did pretty good. Could you have done more? Maybe. But you did the bulk, over 80% of what you offered. So you did good. All right, let's get into this card, brother. 6 matches. Match 1. Tag team title match. Good Brothers versus Axiom and Nathan Frazer. I am not a fan of the Good Brothers. I dislike Festus. I wish we could fire him again. If there's some way we could fire Bald Nash, that would be great. But I don't like the small European guys either. Nathan Frazer got some kind of potential, man. He just needs to find a personality and some, he's working on it. I'll give him that credit. I see the Good Brothers winning, mainly because Axiom and Nathan Frazer have done nothing with these titles, and they've had them for a while. So maybe a switch will help rejuvenate this division. And maybe you can get new tag teams involved. And I think maybe the names of the Good Brothers might be able to help. But I don't think so. Especially if they're not doing anything on like SmackDown and stuff either. It's like, but. So I'm going to go with the Good Brothers. I think the Good Brothers are going to win. Triple threat match for the North American title. Joe Coffey, Wesley, Obafemi. Obafemi's going to win. He should win. He should pick his teeth with Wesley and then take Wesley and stick his whole foot into Joe Coffey's chest and then chuck them both into the crowd. And then beat his chest like Donkey Kong. And everybody, I would be extremely happy if he was to do that. Instead, we're going to have a bunch of spots, flip-flops, and all kinds of other stuff. Obafemi better win this match. I don't have too much to say other than that. Match 3. NXT Underground, Lola Vice versus Shayna Baszler. This match is set up for Shayna Baszler to win. Lola Vice only won the last one because she had help from Shayna Baszler. I think Lola Vice kicked Shayna Baszler in the head and just twerked over her knocked out body. So she needs to be put in her place. So I'm going to go with Shayna Baszler. Even though it would be better for NXT for Lola Vice to win and position herself as a top contender, it's beyond time for Lola Vice to move up the card. Look, I know they turned Roxanne heel, and that's been a big, big problem. Is, not much you can do when the champion is the top heel. But Lola Vice has been outperforming pretty much everybody. She's blown past my expectations. That's just in the ring and as a personality. And I will say this, she gives a shit. And that's one of the things that I was concerned with. I've always been concerned with that, with mixed martial artists coming over to pro wrestling. And I think part of it is the Ronda Rousey element. Part of it is late stage Brock Lesnar. Part of it is, some of those guys who come over from mixed martial arts, or like we were talking about Gable Steveson earlier, when you come from legitimate sports, they might not care because I could beat you up legitimately. So they might have that chip on their shoulder. They don't give a fuck. But she seems to care. And she still has that sort of I can beat you up attitude, but she also seems to get along with everybody too. And she's coming to understand the business. So I'm very impressed by Lola Vice, and she should win. If there's a way for her to win, she should win. And they probably should consider turning her babyface. I know she's really good as a heel, but they probably should consider turning her babyface because people want to like her, I think. And it's not just her booty. I think they just want to like her. All right, match 4. Jordynne Grace versus Roxanne Perez for the NXT Women's title. There is great value in Jordynne Grace winning this match. I think that you can do something tremendous in having Jordynne Grace win this match. And there is something that you could do with Jordynne Grace winning this match and her making more appearances on NXT. You could also have her take the NXT Women's title to TNA. You could have her take it to other places and, get some rub off of it. I know a lot of people denigrate the TNA championships, and this is something that Jordynne Grace talked about herself, is, there's a tremendous amount of pressure on her. And she said in an interview that if I do this badly, this could be cataclysmic. It could potentially end the partnership if I do badly. And she's thinking about this. Like, if I suck, if this thing sucks, or if she doesn't represent NXT in the way that they might like, that could kill it for everybody else. So there's a lot of pressure on her. Do I think WWE would turn around and put the belt on her? Man, I don't think so. I don't think so. But I don't think they'll let her be a loser. They may work her to lose to Roxanne Perez. But then they had her beat Stevie Turner, and they'll probably have her beat Tatum Paxley too. I think as long as this is not the last time you see Jordynne Grace on here, it'll be okay. If she loses and disappears, then that sucks. And the ironic thing is, they did something similar to Roxanne Perez when she went to TNA as the Ring of Honor Women's Champion. And she just went there to lose to Deonna Purrazzo, and she never came back. She went to NXT like a couple weeks later. So, she had won the title, the Ring of Honor Women's title. She went to TNA to wrestle Deonna Purrazzo, who was the Knockouts champion. And it was title for title, and Deonna won. And that was pretty much it for Roxy in TNA. And they kind of played up that on Twitter, where Roxanne talked about challenging for that belt before, and Jordynne Grace said, but you didn't win it. So maybe you do the reverse. Maybe you have Roxanne win this match, and then Jordynne Grace puts her belt on the line, a TNA belt on NXT TV, and then she beats Roxanne, and then you have 1-1, and then you just call it a day at that. That might be the best way to do this thing, so that TNA's belt does not look too bad, because we're talking about the third grade women's title here in WWE. We're not talking about her losing to Bayley or something. This is basically one of the people that they consider a rookie, even though she's been in the business for a little while. So Smart Money says that Roxanne Perez wins this match, but it's not over. And they give Jordynne Grace a rematch. And I think that's the best way to do it. And maybe you tease Tatum Paxley getting involved in order to cost Jordynne Grace the match. So then she can beat Tatum Paxley and then maybe defend her Knockouts belt against Roxanne Perez and beat her too. That way, each belt has a loss hung on it, but it's not too bad. So that's probably the better way to do things. So, but this ought to be a very good match to Roxanne Perez and Jordynne Grace. They ought to be good. All right. So then we got Ethan Page versus Trick Williams for the NXT Championship. Do you run the risk of pissing off everybody by having Ethan Page come in and beat Trick Williams in his first match? I wouldn't do that because of all the work you put in for Trick Williams. And I also think that Ethan Page's character would not benefit from getting this big opportunity so quickly unless he has some kind of outside help. At which case I would be okay with it if, some outside help happens. But Ethan Page just going out there and being better than Trick Williams and beating him and winning the title, I probably would pitch a bitch and, complain. Because to me, Trick Williams, at the same time though, let's back up. At the same time, I'm thinking my way through this. Who else could you put the belt on? If you don't want to put the belt on Ethan Page, who else could you put it on? Who else do you have that is ready that could take the belt from Trick Williams? Ethan Page is likely, if he's any good, this isn't the highest he can go. If he's any good, he can get higher than this. If he's any good, he wouldn't need the belt. Right now, you could continue building him and he wins the belt later. But you do have to ask the question of, if you beat Ethan Page now and you rebuild him, let's say, just for him to win the belt later, that might be sensible in terms of how to do it. But there's a big problem with, if Trick beats him, then he's pretty much cleared out everybody for the most part. And now he's going to have to struggle against, mid-card guys that have not been portrayed as main eventers. At least Ethan Page has been portrayed as a main event guy, a top guy, or a guy who wants to be a top guy, who sees himself as a top guy and desperately wants you to see him as a top guy. So that potential is there. So I wouldn't give the belt to Ethan Page, but I understand if they do. So I'm going to go with Trick Williams. And what I envision the main event to be, even though it probably will end up being an opening match, the ladder match for the Women's North American title. Mi Chen, Lash Legend, Kalani Jordan, Jada Parker, Sol Ruka, Fallon Henley. This is going to be something, because this is the first ladder match for 5 of the people in this match. You have 5 women who have never been in a ladder match before. 4 of them have less than 10 years of wrestling experience. I'm pretty sure Fallon Henley has at least 10, maybe 7 or 8. But Lash Legend has never been in a ladder match before. She's only been wrestling for 2 or 3 years. Jada Parker has only been wrestling for like a year and a half. Sol Ruka has only been wrestling for like a year and a half or 2 years. And Kalani Jordan is basically fresh out of college. You know, she's probably got baby pictures, you know, that they've got in the performance center. She's almost literally like a fucking child. She might be like 23 or something like that, but she's a baby. And she's really only been wrestling like a year and a half too. This thing has the potential to either be really good or you're going to see a lot of ACL surgeries after this. And I'm leaning more towards the latter. I don't know why it needed to be a ladder match. You need to work. They need to get more experience before you start throwing them in ladder matches. Maybe Mi Chen is going to be the ring general, but she's not very good. You know, she sucks. So her being the ring general is going to walk everybody through all these spots. It's like, bro, she's garbage though. And I know Kalani Jordan and Sol Ruka is going to go do all the springboard stuff. And Jada Parker's in there for star power. You know, and Lash Legend's in there because she's over as a character. And they're basically working on her in terms of character and personality. She's really over. But Fallon Henley, they had to have a body in there. She's also got some experience too. So they're hoping that Mi Chen and Fallon Henley, who have experience, can actually work these other girls into this match. As long as Jada Parker don't get hurt and our Ebony Queen Sol Ruka doesn't get hurt, I'm okay. Look, I care about Kalani Jordan too. And I care about Lash Legend too. I don't give a fuck about Mi Chen, by the way. I don't give a fuck. She could tear her gluteus maximus, gluteus minimus, ACL, MCL, PCL, and blow out her butt cheeks. I don't give a damn. She sucks. As long as our Ebony Queen Sol Ruka and Miss Parker don't get hurt, I'm willing to watch this thing. So hopefully they've had a lot of time to work through this. And nobody gets hurt, and it's just terrible. But you have so many people in this match who have so little experience. They don't have a lot of experience in regular matches. That's the thing that's blowing my wig. Like, Kalani Jordan does not even have like 45 matches yet, does she? Does she even have 40? I know Jada Parker ain't got 40. You know, Sol Ruka's been injured for a while. She probably don't even have 40 matches. Now, Lash Legend, she worked on Level Up a lot. Maybe she's got 40. But you're talking about people who are not really even settled in as singles wrestlers yet. Complicating things with ladders. Ugh. I'm going to pray for them. I'm going to pray for all your ligaments and tendons. So hopefully you don't try to overdo it. As far as a winner is concerned, my money would say Jada Parker should win this match. The only two options that are really feasible, Jada Parker, Sol Ruka. In terms of the two women who are most likely to make that belt matter if they have it, Sol Ruka, Jada Parker. Sol Ruka because of her in-ring stuff. Jada Parker because she's a star. She's, you know, visible on social media. Everybody's obsessed with her. At least I am. You know, I'm the most important person to me. And, you know, the culture, quote unquote, is obsessed with her. It's sensible for you to put the belt on somebody who you can consider a star. And she's been getting pushed. You know, now you could say, well, Lash Legend is a star. She's also from the culture. Why don't you put the belt on her? You could, but I think that there's more money with her doing stuff with Trick Williams. And we're talking about a singles championship here. And her and Trick, man, like a power couple with titles, that could be fun. But I would go ahead and either give it to Sol Ruka so she can have good matches in the mid card. And of course, her finisher is over and her matches will get over and all that kind of stuff. To establish what kind of belt you want to have with Sol Ruka. Or you could say Roxanne Perez is our top heel, but we need to have a second heel too. It should be Lola Vice, even though I think she probably should end up turning babyface. But Jada Parker is probably like right there, along with Lola Vice as being the second best heel on the female side on the roster. So I'm going to go with one of those two. My guess is because Roxanne is a heel, they're going to go with a babyface. I'm thinking they're going to go with Sol Ruca. And I think Sol Ruca winning the title is not bad for the belt. It establishes it as a mid-card title because Sol Ruca is a work rater who is really athletic, but she's very low on personality. And being a champion could actually help elevate that title for her and elevate her. So I'm going to go with Sol Ruca. So let's go through this thing again before I let you guys go. Sol Ruca will win the NXT North American Championship for the girls. Oba Femi will retain the North American Championship for the guys. I think Trick Williams will maintain the NXT title. The Good Brothers winning the Tag Team Championship. Roxanne Perez maintaining the Women's Championship in NXT. And I got Shayna Baszler defeating Lola Vice. All right. So we've been here. We talked about NXT for a long time. I thoroughly enjoyed NXT. I will be enjoying the show on Sunday. But let me know what you guys think. Like, share, subscribe. Give me your predictions. Give me your thoughts about everything. And I'll talk to you guys later. Peace out, bros.